Jacob Young's hands froze on the wrench as the emergency repair request flashed across his datapad. A Prylorian ship needed fixing, and he was about to get an unexpected reward. The human mechanic's heart raced as he read the details. Prylorians, the elusive all-female alien race, rarely interacted with humans. Their advanced technology and isolationist policies made them the stuff of legends in the bustling interstellar spaceport where Jacob worked. He grabbed his toolkit and sprinted towards the docking bay, dodging aliens of various species along the way. The damaged Prylorian vessel loomed before him, its sleek purple hull marred by scorch marks and debris. Captain Naso, a tall, stern-looking Prylorian with iridescent skin and piercing silver eyes, stood at the airlock, her face twisted with reluctance as she allowed Jacob to board. "Human, our propulsion system is critically damaged. We require immediate assistance," she stated, her voice cold and commanding. Jacob nodded, following her through the ship's winding corridors. The vessel's interior hummed with technology far beyond human understanding. He pushed aside his awe, focusing on the task at hand. In the engine room, Jacob's trained eyes widened at the extent of the damage. The propulsion system was a mess of twisted metal and fried circuits. Normally, such repairs would take weeks at a specialized facility. But Jacob Young wasn't just any mechanic. He was human, and humans had a knack for thinking outside the box. With a deep breath, he set to work. Using spare parts and improvised tools, Jacob devised a temporary fix that defied conventional repair methods. His hands moved with practiced precision, welding, rewiring, and recalibrating. Hours passed in a blur of sweat and concentration. Finally, Jacob stepped back, wiping his brow. "That should do it, Captain. It's not pretty, but it'll get you to your destination safely." Captain Nesso's eyes widened in disbelief as she inspected his work. The propulsion system hummed to life, steady and strong. She turned to Jacob, her stern demeanor cracking slightly. "Your skills are impressive, human. We owe you a debt of gratitude." She paused, seeming to weigh her next words carefully. "Perhaps you would accept an invitation to our homeworld as a reward for your services?" Jacob's jaw dropped. A human invited to the Prylorian homeworld? It was unheard of, yet as he met Captain Nesso's gaze, he sensed there was more to this offer than mere gratitude. Unbeknownst to Jacob, his efficient repair had caught the attention of more than just the Prylorians. Word spread quickly through the spaceport, reaching the ears of Earth's government and various alien factions. The human's datapad buzzed with an urgent message from his superiors. They saw this as a golden opportunity to establish diplomatic relations with the reclusive Prylorians and gain access to their advanced technology. The pressure to accept the offer and act as an unofficial ambassador weighed heavily on Jacob's shoulders. As he considered his response, Jacob became acutely aware of the growing tension around him. Aliens of different species watched him with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. Rumors flew about the Prylorians' sudden interest in human mechanics. Jacob Young, a simple mechanic, now stood at the center of a potential interstellar incident. His decision could shape the future of human-alien relations and humanity's place in the galactic community. With a deep breath, he turned to Captain Neso, ready to give his answer and face whatever consequences it might bring. Jacob met Captain Neso's expectant gaze, his mind racing with the implications of her offer. The weight of the decision pressed down on him, but a surge of excitement coursed through his veins. "I accept," he said, his voice steady despite the nervous flutter in his stomach. "It would be an honor to visit your homeworld." Captain Neso nodded, a flicker of approval in her silver eyes. "Very well, we shall make the necessary arrangements." As word of Jacob's acceptance spread, the spaceport buzzed with activity. Within hours, he found himself face-to-face with Marcus Reeves, a slender man with a sharp gaze and an immaculate suit. "Mr. Young," Marcus said, extending his hand. "I'm Marcus Reeves, Earth's diplomatic representative. I'll be accompanying you on this unprecedented journey." Jacob shook his hand, feeling slightly overwhelmed. "I'm just a mechanic," he muttered. "I'm not sure I'm cut out for all this." Marcus smiled thinly. That's precisely why you're perfect for this role, Mr. Young. Your skills have opened a door that's been closed to us for decades. As they boarded the Prilorian ship, Jacob marveled at the seamless integration of his makeshift repairs with the vessel's advanced systems. Captain Nesso led them to their quarters, her posture rigid, but her tone less cold than before. "We will reach Nebulon Prime in 3 solar cycles," she informed them. "Feel free to explore the ship, but do not interfere with our operations." During their journey, Jacob and Marcus spent hours in the ship's observation deck, watching stars streak by in brilliant flashes. They interacted with the Prilorian crew, slowly piecing together a picture of their society and current struggles. "The Zorgans have been relentless," a young engineer named Lyra confided in them one evening. Her iridescent skin shimmered with anxiety as she spoke. "They've been targeting our outposts, destroying vital infrastructure. We're struggling to keep up with repairs." Marcus leaned forward, his diplomatic instincts kicking in. "Perhaps this is an opportunity for our peoples to work together," he suggested carefully. Before Lyra could respond, a shudder ran through the ship. They had arrived at Nebulon Prime. The planet was a breathtaking sight. Swirling purple clouds parted to reveal gleaming cities that seemed to float on crystalline lakes. As their ship descended towards the capital city of Celestia, Jacob pressed his face against the viewport, drinking in every detail. They were greeted at the spaceport by High Counselor Lyra, a tall Prilorian with an air of authority that made even Marcus straighten his posture. Her welcoming speech was interrupted by an ear-splitting alarm that echoed through the city. "Zorgan attack!" A Prilorian officer sprinted towards them, her face contorted with fear. "They've breached the perimeter and are heading for the main power facility." Jacob watched as panic spread across the faces of the Prilorian officials. Without thinking, he stepped forward. "I can help," he said, surprising himself with his own boldness. "Let me go to the facility." High Counselor Lyra's eyes narrowed, assessing him. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. "Very well, human. Go with our engineers. Show us what you can do." As Jacob raced towards the power facility with a team of Prilorian engineers, Marcus called after him. "Be careful, Jacob. Remember you're representing all of humanity now." The power facility was a towering structure of gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits. As they approached, Jacob saw the Zorgon raiders for the first time. The reptilian aliens moved with startling speed, their scaled bodies protected by advanced armor. They were using some kind of energy weapons to systematically destroy the facility's external systems. "They're trying to overload the main reactor," one of the Prilorian engineers shouted over the chaos. "If they succeed, half the city will lose power." Jacob's mind raced, taking in the facility's layout and the Zorgon's attack pattern. An idea began to form. "The energy distribution network," he muttered, then turned to the lead engineer. "Can we reroute power from the secondary systems to create a localized pulse?" The engineer's eyes widened in understanding. "Yes, but it would be incredibly risky. The surge could fry every system in the building." "It's a risk we have to take," Jacob insisted. He rushed to a control panel, his fingers flying over the alien interface as he explained his plan to the Prilorian team. Minutes felt like hours as they worked, the sounds of battle growing closer. Just as the first Zorgon breached the facility's inner defenses, Jacob slammed his hand down on the activation switch. A wave of invisible energy swept through the building. The Zorgon's weapons sputtered and died, their communication devices emitting painful screeches. The raiders stumbled, disoriented by the sudden failure of their technology. "Now!" Jacob yelled, and the Prilorian defenders surged forward, quickly overwhelming the disabled Zorgons. In the aftermath of the battle, Jacob found himself standing before High Counselor Lyra once again. This time, her expression was one of genuine respect. "You have done us a great service, Jacob Young," she said solemnly. "Perhaps we have underestimated the potential of humans." As the High Counselor spoke with Jacob, Marcus seized the opportunity to engage with other Prilorian officials. "This incident clearly demonstrates the benefits of cooperation between our peoples," he said smoothly. I propose we discuss a formal exchange program. Our technicians could assist with your ongoing repairs while learning from your advanced technology. The Prilorian officials murmured among themselves, but Jacob could see the seed of interest in their eyes. He felt a swell of pride, knowing that his actions had opened a door for humanity. However, as they walked back towards the city center, Jacob noticed groups of aliens from other species watching them with undisguised suspicion. The atmosphere had shifted, tension crackling in the air like static electricity. "Marcus," he said quietly, "I think we might have stirred up more than we bargained for." The diplomat nodded grimly. "Indeed, our success here will not go unnoticed. We've just changed the game, Jacob, and not everyone will be happy about it." As they entered the gleaming halls of the Prilorian government complex, Jacob couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger adventure, one that would reshape the future of human-alien relations in ways he could scarcely imagine. Imagine. As they walked through the corridors of the government complex, Jacob's mind raced with the implications of what had just transpired. Their meeting with High Counselor Lyra lasted for hours, delving into the intricacies of human-Prilorian cooperation. By the time they emerged, a bold new initiative had taken shape. Lyra, her silver eyes gleaming with a mixture of curiosity and purpose, announced her decision to the assembled Prilorian officials. "We will integrate human mechanics into our fleet," she declared, her voice carrying through the chamber. "Jacob Young will serve as the lead human liaison for this program." Jacob felt a surge of both excitement and trepidation at the announcement. He glanced at Marcus, who gave him a subtle nod of approval. In the days that followed, Jacob found himself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. He worked tirelessly with Prilorian engineers, sharing human techniques and learning about their advanced systems. The cultural exchange was as challenging as it was rewarding, with both sides having to overcome centuries of isolation and mistrust. A month into the program, Jacob received news that made his heart leap. A group of human mechanics was en route to Nebulon Prime. Among them was his longtime friend and fellow engineer, Alex Reeves. The day of their arrival, Jacob stood at the spaceport, watching as the shuttle touched down. Alex was the first to disembark, his familiar grin visible even from a distance. "Jake, you old scoundrel!" Alex called out, embracing his friend. "When they said they needed volunteers for a top-secret mission to an alien world, I knew you had to be involved somehow." Jacob laughed, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Having a familiar face around would make the challenges ahead easier to bear. The influx of human mechanics caused a stir among the Prilorian population. Some, like Lyra and the young engineer Jacob had met on the journey to Nebulon Prime, welcomed the change with open arms. Others eyed the newcomers with suspicion, their iridescent skin shimmering with unease. Jacob and Alex were discussing the integration of human repair techniques with Prilorian technology when the alert came. Zorgon raiders had struck again, this time hitting a crucial outpost in the Corelli system. "They're getting bolder," Lyra said grimly during the emergency briefing. "Our defenses are stretched thin." Jacob exchanged a look with Alex. "We can help," he offered. "Let us go to Corelli. We'll show you what human ingenuity can do when combined with Prilorian tech." Lyra hesitated only briefly before nodding her assent. Within hours, Jacob and Alex found themselves aboard a Prilorian warship, racing towards the embattled outpost. The scene that greeted them was one of chaos. Zorgon ships darted between the stars, their energy weapons leaving scorch marks on the outpost's hull. Jacob and Alex wasted no time, diving into the fray with their tools and improvised solutions. Working alongside the Prilorian crew, they patched hull breaches, rerouted power systems, and even managed to boost the efficiency of the outpost's defensive shields. Their unorthodox methods raised eyebrows among the Prilorian engineers, but the results spoke for themselves. As the last Zorgon ship retreated, leaving the outpost battered but intact, Jacob felt a surge of pride. They had done it. They had proven the value of human Prilorian cooperation. But their victory was short-lived. Over the next few weeks, Zorgon attacks increased in frequency and intensity. Jacob and his team were called upon time and again to assist in repairs and fortification efforts. It was during one such mission, aboard a crucial Prylorian space station, that Jacob made a chilling discovery. As he worked to repel yet another Zorgon assault, he noticed something odd about the enemy ship's approach vector. "They're coming in blind spots," he muttered, studying the tactical display. "It's like they know exactly where our sensors can't see them." Realization dawned on him. "They have cloaking technology," he breathed. "Advanced cloaking technology that can fool even Prylorian systems." The implications were staggering. With this advantage, the Zorgons could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. The entire Prylorian defense network was compromised. Jacob knew they needed more information. They needed to understand this technology if they had any hope of countering it. An idea began to form in his mind, a daring plan that could turn the tide of the conflict. He presented his proposal to High Counselor Lyra, a covert mission into Zorgon territory to gather intelligence on their cloaking devices. Lyra's face grew grave as she considered the risks. "What you're suggesting is incredibly dangerous, Jacob," she said, her silver eyes searching his face. "If you're captured, we can't guarantee your safety." Jacob stood firm. "We don't have a choice," he argued. "If we don't do something, the Zorgons will eventually overwhelm us." After a long moment, Lyra nodded. "Very well, assemble your team. You have my authorization to proceed." Jacob wasted no time. He recruited Alex, knowing he could trust his old friend with his life. 2 Prylorian operatives, Zara and Kale, rounded out the team. Their mission was simple in theory, but fraught with peril. Infiltrate Zorgon space, gather intel on their cloaking technology, and make it back alive. They departed under the cover of darkness, their modified Prylorian scout ship equipped with the latest in stealth technology. As they pushed deeper into Zorgon territory, Jacob felt a mix of excitement and fear. They were venturing into the unknown, with the fate of 2 civilizations resting on their shoulders. Little did they know that their mission was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the galaxy and their place in it. As they pushed deeper into Zorgon territory, the modified Prylorian scout ship glided silently through the inky void of space. Jacob's hands gripped the controls tightly, his eyes scanning the sensor readouts for any sign of enemy activity. "We're approaching the outer defense perimeter," Zara, the Prylorian operative, announced from her station. Her iridescent skin shimmered with tension as she monitored the long-range scanners. Alex leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "How's our stealth holding up?" "So far, so good," Jacob replied, his voice low. "But we're about to put it to the real test." As if on cue, a massive Zorgon patrol ship loomed into view, its angular form jam-packed with weapon emplacements. Jacob held his breath, guiding their vessel into the shadow of a nearby asteroid. Seconds stretched into eternity as they waited, the patrol ship's sensors sweeping past their hiding spot. Finally, Kale, the other Prylorian operative, exhaled sharply. "They didn't detect us, we're clear." The team shared a collective sigh of relief, but their respite was short-lived. As they emerged from behind the asteroid, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple contacts," Zara shouted. "Zorgon fighters closing fast." Jacob's mind raced. Their stealth systems were working, but the sheer number of Zorgon ships made detection almost inevitable. He made a split-second decision. "Hold on," he called out, pushing the ship into a steep dive. The vessel plummeted towards a nearby moon, its barren, cratered surface growing larger by the second. Alex gripped his seat. "Jake, what are you doing?" "Trust me," Jacob gritted out, his eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching lunar landscape. At the last possible moment, he pulled up, skimming the ship mere meters above the moon's surface. The pursuing Zorgon fighters, caught off guard by the maneuver, scattered. Several crashed into the unforgiving terrain, while others peeled away, losing track of their quarry in the moon's numerous canyons and craters. Jacob guided the ship into a deep ravine, powering down all non-essential systems. "We'll wait them out here," he explained, his heart still pounding from the close call. Hours passed as the team huddled in the darkness of their powered-down ship. Eventually, the sounds of Zorgon search parties faded, and Jacob deemed it safe to emerge from their hiding spot. As they cautiously lifted off, a strange energy signature caught Kyle's attention. "There's something unusual about this moon," he reported, frowning at his instruments. "I'm detecting a faint power source. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Curiosity overrode caution, and Jacob made the decision to investigate. They followed the energy signature to a hidden entrance carved into the side of a massive crater. Inside, they discovered an ancient alien outpost, its technology far more advanced than anything the Zorgons or even the Prilorians possessed. "This could be the key to defeating the Zorgons," Alex breathed, examining a device that seemed to bend light around it. Working feverishly, Jacob and his team studied the alien technology, incorporating elements of it into their own ship. The process was painstaking and fraught with setbacks, but gradually they enhanced their vessel's capabilities far beyond what they had thought possible. Just as they completed the final modifications, Zara's voice cut through the air. "Zorgon search parties are closing in on our location. Time to see what this baby can do," Jacob said, his voice a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They launched from the moon's surface, their newly modified ship slipping past the Zorgon blockade without a trace. The enhanced cloaking technology worked flawlessly, rendering them completely invisible to enemy sensors. As they cleared Zorgon space, a chilling sight greeted them. A massive armada of Zorgon warships stretched as far as the eye could see, clearly mobilizing for a full-scale invasion. "They're heading for Nebulon Prime," Kale said, his voice tight with fear. Jacob knew they had to warn the Prilorians, even if it meant risking their own safety. He opened a secure channel and transmitted the warning, along with all the data they had gathered on Zorgon fleet movements and capabilities. The transmission was brief, but it was enough. A Zorgon patrol ship detected the signal and immediately gave chase. Jacob pushed their modified vessel to its limits, weaving through a treacherous asteroid field. The ship's enhanced maneuverability allowed them to navigate the deadly obstacles with unprecedented precision. Their Zorgon pursuers weren't so lucky. One by one, the enemy ships collided with asteroids or each other, unable to match the agility of Jacob's vessel. Finally, they emerged from the other side of the asteroid field, battered but victorious. The return to Nebulon Prime was met with a hero's welcome. High Counselor Lyra herself greeted them as they disembarked, her silver eyes wide with a mixture of relief and urgency. "Your warning came just in time," she said, leading them to a secure briefing room. "We've already begun mobilizing our defenses, but the Zorgon fleet far outnumbers our own." Jacob and his team presented their findings demonstrating the capabilities of their modified ship. The Prilorian military command was astounded by the advancements they had made. "This technology could turn the tide of the war," one of the commanders said, examining the data with keen interest. As the Prilorian leadership debated their next move, Jacob stepped forward. "We don't have to wait for them to come to us," he said, his voice steady. "With this new cloaking technology, we can strike first, hit them before they even reach Prilorian space." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Jacob. High Counselor Lyra studied him intently, weighing the audacity of his proposal against the dire situation they faced. "What exactly are you suggesting?" she asked. Jacob outlined his plan for a preemptive strike, explaining how they could use the cloaking technology to infiltrate the Zorgon fleet and disable key warships before the invasion could begin. After a long moment of consideration, Lyra nodded. "Very well, Jacob Young, you've earned our trust. I'm placing you in charge of this operation." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Jacob oversaw the rapid modification of Prilorian ships with the new stealth technology, working around the clock to prepare for the counteroffensive. Human and Prilorian engineers worked side by side, their combined expertise pushing the boundaries of what was possible. As preparations continued, Marcus Reeves, the human diplomat, negotiated tirelessly with the Prilorian government. His efforts culminated in a formal treaty between Earth and Nebulon Prime, solidifying their alliance in the face of the Zorgon threat. The impending operation, however, was not without controversy. Some Prylorians viewed the humans as saviors, while others feared their involvement would only escalate the conflict. Tension simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. Jacob tried to ignore the political maneuvering, focusing instead on the monumental task before him. He led a final briefing for the Joint Human-Prylorian Task Force, outlining their plan of attack. The strategy involved simultaneous strikes on key Zorgan warships and supply lines, using their cloaking capabilities to sow chaos and confusion among the enemy fleet. As the briefing concluded and the task force prepared to embark on their mission, an urgent message arrived from Earth. Jacob's blood ran cold as he read the report. A separate Zorgon fleet was en route to attack humanity's homeworld. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled force. Jacob found himself at the center of a storm of questions and demands. High Counselor Lyra pulled him aside, her face grave. "We must decide quickly," she said, her voice low. "Do we proceed with the defense of Nebulan Prime, or do we divert resources to protect Earth?" Jacob's mind raced, weighing the consequences of each choice. The fate of two worlds now rested on his decision. He looked out at the assembled fleet, human and Prylorian ships side by side, ready to face the Zorgan threat together. With a deep breath, Jacob turned back to Lyra, prepared to make the most crucial decision of his life. The future of both humanity and the Prylorians hung in the balance as he opened his mouth to speak. Jacob looked at Lyra, his mind racing through possibilities. "We can protect both," he said firmly. "We'll split our forces." Lyra's silver eyes widened. "Explain." Jacob outlined his plan rapidly, gesturing to the holographic display of the fleet. "We send the main force to Nebulan Prime as planned. I'll lead it personally, but we dispatch a smaller elite team to Earth with our most advanced stealth ships." Murmurs rippled through the assembled leaders. Lyra considered for a moment, then nodded. "It's risky, but it may be our best option. Who will lead the Earth defense team?" "Alex," Jacob said without hesitation. "He knows Earth's defenses better than anyone here." Alex stepped forward, his face set with tenacity. "I'll do it." As the two task forces prepared for departure, a new arrival caused a stir. Admiral Thorne, a battle-hardened human strategist, strode into the command center. His weathered face and piercing gaze spoke of years of combat experience. "Earth sent me to assist," Thorne announced, his voice gravelly. "I've got intel on our home defenses that'll be crucial for coordination." Jacob nodded, grateful for the reinforcement. "Admiral, you'll go with Alex. Your experience will be invaluable." The next hours were a blur of activity. Ships were reassigned, crews briefed, and final modifications made to the stealth systems. Jacob found himself on the bridge of the Prylorian flagship, surrounded by a mix of human and alien crew members. "All ships report ready," Zara announced from her station. Jacob took a deep breath. "Let's move out." The joint fleet split, with Alex's team disappearing into the void, their advanced stealth drives masking their departure. Jacob watched them go, pushing down his worry for his friend and his home planet. As Jacob's fleet approached Nebulan Prime, the massive Zorgan armada came into view. Countless ships stretched across space, their angular forms filled with weaponry. "Activate stealth systems," Jacob ordered. "Prepare for attack pattern Omega." The human Prylorian ships seemed to shimmer and fade, becoming nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. They slipped between the Zorgon vessels undetected, taking up strategic positions. Jacob's voice was steady as he gave the command. "All ships, open fire." Chaos erupted as the cloaked Allied fleet unleashed a devastating barrage. Zorgan ships exploded in silent fury, caught completely off guard. Jacob's unorthodox tactics proved effective as phantom ship signatures appeared on Zorgan sensors, drawing their fire away from the real targets. Meanwhile, Alex's team pushed their ships to the limit, racing toward Earth. They dropped out of hyperspace just as the Zorgon fleet entered the solar system. Admiral Thorne immediately opened communications with Earth's Defense Command. "This is Admiral Thorne. We have friendly support incoming. Transmitting authentication codes now." On the bridge of his ship, Alex coordinated with the Prylorian engineers. Deploy the stealth platforms. Create a web around the planet. The advanced Prylorian ships released dozens of small cloaked defense platforms. They spread out, forming an invisible barrier around Earth. As the Zorgon fleet approached, they remained oblivious to the trap they were entering. Back at Nebulan Prime, Jacob's fleet was pressing its advantage, but as he observed the battle from the flagship's bridge, something caught his eye: a massive energy reading from one of the larger Zorgon vessels. "Scan that ship," he ordered urgently. Kale's face paled as he read the results. It's some kind of superweapon. The energy output is off the charts. It could destroy an entire planet. Jacob's blood ran cold. The stakes had just gotten much higher. "We need to take out that ship," he said. "I'm leading a boarding party. Prepare a strike team." Minutes later, Jacob found himself in a small, stealthy assault craft approaching the Zorgon command ship. His team, a mix of humans and Prylorians, checked their weapons nervously. "Remember," Jacob said, "our primary objective is to disable that weapon. Anything else is secondary." They latched onto the hull of the massive ship, cutting their way inside. Immediately, they were met with resistance. Zorgon soldiers, insectoid and ferocious, swarmed towards them. Jacob ducked behind a bulkhead, firing his energy weapon. "Push forward," he shouted over the din of battle. "We need to reach the main engineering section." They fought their way through the alien corridors, the ship's strange architecture making navigation difficult. Jacob's mechanical skills proved crucial as they encountered locked doors and security systems. At Earth, the battle was reaching its climax. The Zorgon fleet launched its assault, only to be caught in the crossfire of the hidden defense platforms. Earth's military joined the fray, creating a united front against the invaders. Alex's voice crackled over the comms. "Admiral Thorne, we're detecting a breach in Sector 7. Thorne's response was immediate. "Redirect Squadrons 3 and 4 to reinforce. Don't let them establish a foothold." The space around Earth was alight with weapons fire, destroyed ships drifting lifelessly. The human Prylorian defense was holding, but barely. On the Zorgon command ship, Jacob's team finally reached the engineering section. The superweapon loomed before them, a massive construct of alien technology. "Cover me," Jacob said, rushing to the main control panel. His fingers flew over the alien interface, his mind racing to understand the unfamiliar systems. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. A Zorgon voice screeched over the intercom in their alien language. "Jacob!" one of his team members shouted. "Long-range sensors are picking up another Zorgon fleet. It's huge." Jacob's heart sank. He worked faster, trying to disable the weapon while his team held off waves of Zorgon soldiers. The fate of two worlds now hung by a thread, with an even greater threat looming on the horizon. As he fought to neutralize the superweapon, Jacob knew that the next few moments would determine not just the outcome of this battle, but the future of humanity, the Prylorians, and the entire galaxy. The true test of their newfound alliance was about to begin. Begin as the ship's systems overloaded. Jacob's fingers flew across the alien controls, desperately trying to counteract the cascade failure he had initiated. Alarms blared, bathing the engineering bay in pulsing red light. "It's done," he shouted over the din. "The superweapon's core is offline." His team cheered, but their celebration was short-lived. A Prylorian technician called out, "Jacob, long-range sensors are picking up another Zorgon fleet. It's massive." Jacob's stomach dropped. He turned back to the control panel, now seeing it with new eyes. This wasn't just a weapon system, it was a treasure trove of Zorgon data. His mind raced, weighing the risks against the potential intelligence they could gather. "Cover me," he ordered. "I'm going to download as much as I can." As his team fended off waves of Zorgon soldiers, Jacob interfaced his portable computer with the alien system. Encrypted data streamed across his screen, a mix of tactical information and star charts. His eyes widened as he decrypted a set of coordinates. "This can't be right," he muttered. Before he could investigate further, a bone-chilling screech echoed through the chamber. A massive Zorgon, its exoskeleton adorned with battle scars, burst through the entrance, its compound eyes fixed on Jacob with predatory focus. "Supreme Commander Krax," one of the Prylorians gasped. Krax charged, mandibles clicking furiously. Jacob rolled aside, narrowly avoiding the Zorgon's razor-sharp claws. He found himself in a deadly dance, ducking and weaving as Krax's attacks came with lightning speed. Jacob's mind raced, looking for an advantage. His gaze fell on a nearby control panel. As Krax lunged again, Jacob feinted left, then dove right. His hand slammed down on the panel, activating the ship's emergency protocols. Blast doors slammed shut throughout the vessel, trapping Zorgon crew members in isolated sections. Krax roared in fury, momentarily distracted. Jacob seized the opportunity, landing a solid kick to the alien's midsection. "Let's move," he shouted to his team. They sprinted through the corridors, the sounds of Krax's enraged pursuit echoing behind them. They reached a hangar bay, piling into a Zorgon shuttle. Jacob's mechanical skills came to the fore as he quickly deciphered the alien craft's controls. The shuttle burst from the hangar, weaving through the chaos of the space battle outside. Jacob pushed the engines to their limit, racing back to the human Prylorian fleet. As they approached friendly lines, Jacob's comm crackled to life. "This is Admiral Thorne. Earth is under heavy assault. We need reinforcements immediately." Jacob's heart sank. He looked at his team, then at the Prylorian ships fighting valiantly to defend their homeworld. The weight of command pressed down on him like a physical force. "Well, we're splitting the fleet," he announced. "I'll lead a force back to Earth. The rest will stay here to defend Nebulon Prime." He quickly briefed the Prylorian commanders, sharing the intelligence they'd gathered from the Zorgon ship. As the fleet divided, Jacob's ships entered hyperspace, pushing their engines to the brink. During the journey, Jacob pored over the stolen Zorgon data. Amidst the tactical information, he found something that made his breath catch. A vulnerability in Zorgon ship design, a flaw in their power distribution systems. They dropped out of hyperspace near Earth, and Jacob's blood ran cold at the sight that greeted them. The planet was surrounded by a swarm of Zorgon ships. Flashes of weapons fire illuminated the night side of the planet, while massive storms raged across the surface. "Status report," Jacob demanded, opening a channel to Earth's Defense Command. Admiral Thorne's face appeared on the screen, haggard and smoke-smeared. "We've activated the experimental defense grid," he reported. "It's taking a toll on the Zorgons, but the collateral damage—" Jacob nodded grimly. He could see the debris of destroyed ships entering the atmosphere, burning up like deadly meteors. "I have a plan," Jacob said, quickly outlining the Zorgon vulnerability he'd discovered. They coordinated a synchronized attack, targeting the power systems of the Zorgon fleet. For a moment, it seemed to work. Zorgon ships went dark, weapons failing as their energy cores overloaded. But the victory was short-lived. The Zorgons adapted quickly, rerouting power and bringing systems back online. A significant portion of their fleet remained operational, bearing down on Earth with renewed fury. As Jacob prepared to order another assault, an urgent transmission came through from Nebulon Prime. The Prylorian commander's face was tight with concern. "Jacob, we've made a critical discovery," she said. "The second Zorgon fleet isn't coming here. They're headed for coordinates we found in the data you sent. We believe it's the location of the Zorgon homeworld." Jacob's mind reeled. A Zorgon civil war, or something else entirely? He looked at the battle raging around Earth, then back at the transmission showing the trajectory of the second Zorgon fleet. Two paths lay before him, each with potentially galaxy-altering consequences. Stay and fight for Earth, possibly sacrificing the planet to save humanity? Or pursue the Zorgon fleet to their homeworld, gambling everything on a chance to end the war decisively. Jacob's hand hovered over the ship's controls, the weight of two worlds pressing down on him as he prepared to make his choice. Jacob's hand moved decisively, inputting a series of commands into the ship's console. He opened a secure channel to both Admiral Thorne and the Prylorian High Council. "I have a plan," he announced, his voice steady despite the weight of his decision. "We're going to infiltrate the Second Zorgon fleet." Shocked silence met his words, broken by Admiral Thorne's incredulous voice. "Infiltrate? Jacob, that's suicide." "It's our best chance," Jacob countered. "We have the stolen shuttle and we have intel. We can sow chaos in their ranks and potentially end this war without sacrificing either Earth or Nebulan Prime." He quickly outlined his strategy, detailing how they would use the Zorgon shuttle and the intelligence they'd gathered to impersonate Zorgon officers and disrupt the fleet from within. "It's bold," the Prylorian High Counselor Lyra admitted, "but it could work." Jacob nodded, then turned to his crew. "I need volunteers. This mission is high risk, and I won't order anyone to come." Alex Reeves stepped forward immediately. "I'm in," he said without hesitation. Two Prylorians, Zara and Coyle, also volunteered. Their unique abilities would be crucial for the mission's success. As the rest of the fleet prepared to split, some returning to Earth, others staying to defend Nebulan Prime, Jacob's team worked feverishly to modify the Zorgon shuttle. They integrated human and Prylorian technology, enhancing its stealth capabilities and adding a powerful communications array. Before departing, Jacob transmitted the intelligence about the Zorgon ship vulnerability to Admiral Thorne. "Keep hitting them where it hurts," he instructed. "We'll do what we can from the inside." The modified shuttle launched under the cover of the ongoing battle, slipping away unnoticed amidst the chaos. As they pushed the engines to their limits, racing to catch the Second Zorgon fleet, Jacob and his team pored over the stolen data. "Look at this," Alex said, pointing to a string of Zorgon communication codes. "If we can crack their protocols, we can impersonate their officers." Zara, the Prylorian communications expert, nodded. "Leave that to me," she said, her fingers already flying over the console. As they approached the massive Zorgon fleet, tension filled the shuttle. Jacob took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "Initiate stealth protocols," he ordered. "Zara, start broadcasting those fake credentials." The shuttle slipped into the Zorgon formation, its signature masked to appear as just another scout ship. Tense minutes passed as they waited to see if their ruse would be detected. Finally, Cale breathed a sigh of relief. "We're in," he announced. "They've accepted our credentials." Jacob nodded grimly. "Now for the hard part. Alex, start transmitting those false orders. Let's see if we can't turn this fleet against itself." Alex began broadcasting carefully crafted messages, suggesting a coup attempt within the Zorgon hierarchy. The effect was almost immediate. Zorgon ships began breaking formation, some turning against each other in confusion. "It's working," Zara said, her eyes wide as she monitored the Zorgon communications. "They're in complete disarray." Taking advantage of the chaos, Jacob maneuvered their shuttle closer to the Zorgon command ship. As they approached, their enhanced sensors picked up a wealth of data about the Zorgon homeworld's defenses and the fleet's true purpose. "Jacob," Cale called out, his voice urgent, "you need to see this." The data painted a grim picture. The Zorgon Empire was facing a severe resource crisis on their homeworld. Their invasion of Earth and Nebulan Prime wasn't just about conquest, it was a desperate bid for survival. "This changes everything," Jacob muttered. "We need to get this information back to Earth and Nebulan Prime." But before they could transmit their findings, alarms blared through the shuttle. "We've been detected!" Zara shouted. Jacob's mind raced. They couldn't run, not with this vital intelligence. "We're docking with the command ship," he decided. "We'll deliver the urgent information in person." The team prepared for combat as the shuttle docked. As soon as the airlock opened, they were met with a hail of Zorgon weapon fire. Jacob ducked behind a bulkhead, returning fire with his energy pistol. "Push forward," he shouted over the din of battle. "We need to reach their main computer." The team fought their way through the alien corridors, their diverse skills proving crucial. Jacob's technical expertise allowed them to bypass security systems, while Alex's tactical knowledge kept them one step ahead of the Zorgon defenders. Zara and Cale's advanced Prylorian combat abilities turned the tide in several close encounters. Finally, they reached the command ship's central computer hub. As the others provided cover fire, Jacob raced to the main terminal. His fingers flew over the alien interface, uploading a virus he'd prepared using the stolen Zorgon data. "It's done," he announced. "This should cripple their coordination across the entire fleet." But their success came at a cost. The Zorgon resistance intensified, and the team suffered several close calls as they fought their way back to their shuttle. As they undocked from the command ship, Jacob saw the virus taking effect. Zorgon vessels were losing power, their weapons going dark. Their victory was short-lived, however. The shuttle's engines sputtered as they fled, damaged by Zorgon weapons fire during their escape. With Zorgon pursuers closing in, Jacob made a split-second decision. "There," he said, pointing to a dense asteroid field on their sensors. "We can lose them in there." As they weaved through the treacherous field of space rocks, their shuttle groaning under the strain, Jacob received two urgent transmissions. The first, from Earth, painted a dire picture. The Zorgon forces were adapting, pushing closer to the planet's surface. They couldn't hold out much longer. The second message, from Nebulon Prime, offered a glimmer of hope. The Prilorians had mobilized a relief force for Earth, but they wouldn't arrive in time to prevent a Zorgon breakthrough. Jacob looked at his team, then at the vital intelligence they'd gathered. They had the information that could turn the tide of the war, but with their shuttle badly damaged and Earth on the brink of falling, how could they get it to those who needed it most? As asteroid impacts rocked their crippled vessel, Jacob realized that the fate of two worlds now rested on his next decision. Time was running out, and he needed to find a way to save both humanity and the Prilorians from the Zorgon threat. The real challenge was just beginning. Jacob gritted his teeth, his mind racing as he assessed their predicament. The shuttle shuddered as another asteroid glanced off its hull, sending tremors through the deck plating. "Status report," he barked, clinging to his seat as the ship lurched. Alex's fingers danced over the control panel. "Main engines are offline. We're running on auxiliary power, but it's draining fast. Communications array is fried." Jacob's eyes darted around the cramped shuttle interior, taking in the sparking consoles and the worried faces of his team. They had the information that could turn the tide of the war, but it was useless if they couldn't transmit it. "We need to get a signal out," he muttered, more to himself than the others. His gaze fell on a tangle of wires spilling from a damaged bulkhead. An idea began to form. "Zara, Kale," he called to the Prilorians, "I need you on weapons. Those Zorgon scouts will be on us soon. Alex, keep us moving. Use the asteroids for cover." As his team sprang into action, Jacob tore into the shuttle's systems. He ripped out components, stripped wires, and cobbled together a makeshift transmitter. Sweat beaded on his brow as he worked, acutely aware of the ticking clock. Outside, energy blasts from Zorgon scout ships lit up the asteroid field. Zara and Kale returned fire, their shots precise despite the shuttle's erratic movement. "Hold them off," Jacob shouted, soldering the last connection on his jury-rigged device. "I just need a few more minutes." He crawled to the shuttle's airlock, transmitter in hand. With a deep breath, he cracked the outer door. The vacuum of space tugged at him as he reached out, snagging a piece of debris from a nearby asteroid. The metal fragment was jagged and ice-cold, but it would serve as a crude antenna. Back inside, Jacob connected the debris to his makeshift transmitter. He input the coordinates for Earth and Nebulon Prime, praying the signal would be strong enough to reach them. "Transmitting now," he announced, his finger hovering over the activation switch. "This is our only shot. If this doesn't work..." An explosion rocked the shuttle, cutting him off. Alarms blared as the ship's integrity was compromised. "We've got a breach!" Alex yelled, furiously working to seal off the damaged section. Jacob steadied himself and pressed the switch. The transmitter hummed to life, broadcasting their vital intelligence across the vast expanse of space. On Earth, Admiral Thorne's eyes widened as the data streamed across his command center's screens. "This is it," he breathed, quickly assessing the Zorgon fleet's vulnerabilities. He opened a channel to the Prilorian Relief Force, coordinating a new strategy. Earth's defenders and the Prilorian ships moved in perfect synchronization, exploiting the weaknesses Jacob's team had uncovered. Zorgan vessels began to falter, their systems failing under the precise assault. Back in the asteroid field, Jacob's mind was already racing ahead to their next move. They had transmitted the intelligence, but Earth was still in danger. They needed to do more. His eyes fell on the shuttle's cargo manifest, noting an entry for a high-powered electromagnet. A plan began to form, ambitious and dangerous in equal measure. "Alex, can you get us close to those metal-rich asteroids?" Jacob asked, pointing to a cluster of space rocks on their sensor display. Alex nodded, maneuvering the battered shuttle closer to the asteroids. Jacob activated the electromagnet, watching with satisfaction as chunks of space debris began to accumulate around their ship. "What's the plan, boss?" Zara asked, her eyes never leaving the weapons console as she continued to fend off Zorgon attackers. Jacob's lips curled into a grim smile. "We're going to give the Zorgons a surprise they'll never forget." As the mass of asteroids grew around them, Jacob explained his audacious strategy. They would use the last of their power to make a short-range, faster-than-light jump, materializing their asteroid construct in the heart of the Zorgon fleet. "It's insane," Kale said, shaking his head in disbelief, "but it just might work." With their makeshift weapon assembled, Jacob took the helm. The shuttle's systems groaned in protest as he pushed them to their limits, preparing for the jump. "Everyone hold on," he warned. "This is going to be rough." Jacob activated the faster-than-light drive. For a moment, the universe seemed to stretch around them. Then, with a violent lurch, they emerged in the midst of the Zorgon armada. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. Zorgon ships, caught completely off guard, collided with the massive asteroid cluster. Smaller vessels were crushed in the ensuing chaos, while capital ships struggled to maneuver in the suddenly crowded space. From the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Thorne watched in awe as the Zorgon fleet's formation disintegrated. "All ships press the attack," he ordered, seizing the opportunity Jacob had created. The combined Earth-Prilorian force surged forward, their weapons finding their marks with deadly precision. Zorgon ships, already reeling from the asteroid impact, crumbled under the assault. In the shuttle, alarms blared as their last power reserves dwindled. The cockpit went dark, leaving them floating helplessly in space. "Well," Alex said, breaking the tense silence, "I guess this is it." But before despair could set in, a transmission crackled through their emergency receiver. "This is High Counselor Lyra. Hold tight, Jacob. We're coming for you." Relief washed over the team as they watched a Prilorian rescue ship approach. As they were brought aboard, Jacob caught his first glimpse of the battle's aftermath through the view screen. The once mighty Zorgon invasion force was in full retreat, leaving behind a trail of debris and disabled ships. Earth, battered but unbroken, still hung in the void, a blue jewel amidst the stars. As the rescue ship set course for Earth, Jacob felt the weight of the past few days finally settling on him. He had started this journey as a simple mechanic, and now he shook his head, marveling at the strange turns his life had taken. Whatever came next, he knew that the galaxy would never be the same, and neither would he. The rescue ship accelerated, carrying Jacob and his team back to a world forever changed by their actions. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Jacob wondered what new challenges and opportunities awaited them in this brave new era of interstellar cooperation.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.